Good morning from the Marches region. We're in the area of the Monte Sibillini area in the Marches. Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
And Pino is here to see about restoration of this structure. Good morning, vacche, in your stall, which is looking out on the splendid hill mountain area of the Marches region. Right in this little stall we have sheep, and this is at the far end of a little mountainside borgo. You can still see snow up on the hill there. And Pino is here to see about a possible restoration job on this rural structure. And this is all vincolata, very tied in to strict rules of restoration. These are all historic buildings in this little mountain borgata or borgo. Little hamlet. Pino and the technician in charge of the work up here are looking around. We can see some animal food ready here. And they're talking about how structure it's going to be to put up a crane here for work. It's going to be a challenging project. Just setting up the crane. All this building here will need to be restored. And they've just been out this path to see about a possible site for the erection of the crane for the restoration of this building. Pino will decide whether or not he's going to make a bid on this project, and it's certainly going to be a challenging one. All this structure will have to be restored. And I am not sure about this structure too. Perhaps this structure as well will be restored. This will be a massive project. And again, the problem is where to set up the crane. This is the geometra, draftsman surveyor, who is representing the clients on this project. Challenges ahead. Well, I just spoke to the geometra, and this structure here adjacent is not part of the project, which Pino would have to undertake. Quite extraordinary to see these trees growing up out of the ground right near this rural building in stone, totally crumbling. And I just asked the geometra, Pino's task would be the restoration of this structure, how to erect a crane up here. And he said, "Non lo so, questo lavoro non è una passeggiata." This job will not be a stroll or a walk. It won't be a countryside walk to take on the restoration here. Be interesting to hear what Pino thinks as we head home after he views this project. Now we're walking back out. Storeroom. Someone drying wash here, though. And the building next to it is quite restored and lived in. And we were told by the geometra, the draftsman surveyor, that up in this mountain area in summertime, thousands of people come. There's some very beautifully restored homes up here and absolutely magnificent views all around. We'll see them as we head home. This again is the building that would be Pino's challenge. Off in the distance, a little hilltop borgo nestled up in the woods there. And I'll just say goodbye to the oxen as I leave the area and leave their stall. Beautiful wooden beams. And this is all part of the project, this whole structure that you see above the oxen. Leaving the Borgo now and walking past one of the restored homes. And this would have been a rural Borgo where many families would have lived. Animal stalls probably on the lower levels. People living above. And they would have headed out to the countryside during the day to work the lands surrounding the Borgo. You can see the braces here on the wall, called contraforte in Italian. And they're anti-seismic devices. They will bolt into the oak beams to put counter pressure on the stonework, which could buckle out under seismic activity. This house too to be restored, but not a project for Pino. And lovely to see the remnants of the ancient architecture. This door here is in brickwork and probably will be a few hundred years old. But I'm noticing everywhere blocks of stone fitting into the buildings. Wondering if they might even have been part of Roman structures near here. And then there are some details of the building which are much more ancient, like this small window. And to think that these buildings were all done by the artistic hands of unskilled stonemasons. Well, let's say very skilled, but without any professional training. Look at all of these blocks gathered from all around and inserted into the building with such beautiful artistry. And here and there, this stonemason, when he built this, intermingled the stone with bricks. And look at the wonderful pattern that he created on the side of this house, alternating brick and stone. Simple and exquisite rural sculpture. Another building to be restored. And hopefully the buildings will be restored so that these little medieval rural borghi continue to live, to survive. Unrestored home here, and a beautifully restored home here. But their neighbors are few, because so many of the homes in this little borgo are crumbling and have been deserted. May they soon be resurrected. And across from the borgo, off on a hill, is the bell tower of Benedictine Abbey. But the geometro technician showing us around today told me that it is closed. One has to know the key holder. I'm sure it's open certain times of the year, maybe for masses on Sunday. But certainly if Pino does take on this job up here, I want to come up sometime and pay a visit to the Abbazia, the Benedictine Abbey Church, perched on the hill across from this borgo. Here are Pino and the technicians talking about the homes which have been restored, the homes which haven't been restored, the challenges to doing restoration in an area like this, and all these homes will be strongly vincolati, tied, protected norms, which will mean that the building can be restored, but it must be restored on the footprint of the original structure. These are all national treasures, these rural homes, and you can't change any elements in terms of making additions, making them larger, changing the size. They can be retrofitted and so forth, but on the original footprint. I'm talking away about all this now. Leave Meriggio, uninhabited little borgo near Acqua Canina in the Marches, in the Marche region. And the cattle are taken care of by a gentleman who we met just now, and I took a picture of him with the geometra and Pino. And animals are living up here now, but no people are living in the houses right now. Again, may Meriggio soon be resurrected. Acqua Canina is here, and attached to it is the little borgo of Meriggio, with a challenging restoration project that Pino may or may not take on. It was a pleasure to meet the geometra, the technician Luca, and Maurizio, who sells his ricotta and formaggio from his sheep, which were in the stall, and he also has the oxen that we saw, called La Vacca Marchigiana, the Marchigiana oxen. We're in the Marches region. And on we go. Arrivederci.